Stay hydrated, kids. Stay hydrated, kids. I can't speak. We're off to a great start. I can never speak. I don't know what it is. It's like as soon as the camera goes on, it's like Anyway, I have filmed this video twice before. This is my third time filming, so hopefully third time's the charm. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new, make sure to hit that subscribe button so I can see you back for more videos. So for today's video, I'm going to be talking about things that I think are important for people to know when going into or transitioning into a vegan or vegetarian lifestyle. More so just talking about the diet of being a vegan or vegetarian. I think that it's important for people to know the tips given in this video because if you cut food groups, like so much of the food group out of your diet without properly replacing it with another, then I think you're setting yourself up for risk, like health risks, that can totally be avoided if you kind of know what the risks include when cutting those food groups out and how to properly supplement them, or, you know, make sure you're getting it just through diet and whatnot. So I'll definitely go into detail throughout the video, but just kind of touching up on those sort of things. I followed the whole vegan vegetarian diet for about 1.5 years. I still would say that I'm mostly plant-based, but you know, when it comes to a busy lifestyle, especially like going to school and like things like that, going to work, we don't always have time to cook for ourselves. So when you're cutting a lot of the food groups out of your diet, if you're not meal prepping or making sure that you're getting a sufficient amount of proteins and just, you know, all these sort of things through your diet, then you're gonna be malnourished, and it's just something you want to avoid. So I guess like that's one of the first tips is like, if you're going to be a vegan or vegetarian, make sure that you're meal prepping if you have a really busy week, if you're a student or if you work full-time, things like that. Make sure that you're not just grabbing whatever is available at that moment and cutting all these food groups out, because you're not going to properly get enough of the nutrients that you need throughout the day to keep your body going. And it may work for a little like short amount of time, but over a long period of time, you're really gonna crash. So yes, more so with that all throughout the video. I'll go more into detail. So the first tip that I actually want to give is to make sure that you're getting enough iron. And I know that's like pretty basic, but I thought I was getting enough iron and I wasn't. I got blood work done to make sure that my iron levels were in check because I just was feeling very tired, and one of the main things is that I was losing a lot of hair, and the test showed up as everything being okay. But obviously I knew that something was wrong, so I started supplementing with iron supplements, and my hair fall stopped immediately and so noticeably. So like obviously that was an indication of not enough iron in my system. Most likely in the beginning, especially when you're transitioning, you'll probably need to be supplementing, and I think that's a pretty good idea because when you're first learning how to kind of get your foot in through the door of this sort of diet where you're cutting out a lot of the meats and things like that, you have to be eating a lot of plant-based iron sources to be getting the amount that you need sufficiently like you would with meat. Supplementing in the beginning is a pretty good idea because you're gonna just have that fallback, and that doesn't mean that you should be supplementing every day, but definitely have a supplement of iron that you're taking at least like a couple times a week so that you're not deficient in it. The iron supplement that I'm taking at the moment is Blood Builder by Mega Foods, and I am in love with this little guy. It's all plant-based and it's all food driven, so when your supplement is food driven, obviously your body knows how to better absorb it because it's already used to getting its nutrients from the foods that you eat. So this guy works like wonders. It's at 26 milligrams, so I don't take one every day because over supplementing with iron or having too much iron in your system is it'll come to me. It's not good for you. I don't know why I always just lose myself in the middle of a sentence. It happens a lot. I don't know. Anyway, it's not good to have a buildup of iron in or too much iron in your system. So I take this a couple times a week just to make sure that everything is in check, especially when it's coming to be around that time of the month where you're losing a lot of blood, so you need to be supplementing for sure. Yeah, so this guy I definitely recommend. It's also got vitamin C, which helps with iron absorption. And that's another one of my tips, is to make sure that you're taking in enough vitamin C with your iron, because it actually helps to maximize iron's absorption. So another thing is that if you really want to maximize absorption of your iron, make sure that you're not taking it with foods that contain calcium, because that competes with the absorption of iron. But make sure that you're taking it with foods that are high in vitamin C content, because that actually boosts the absorption in your system. This also has folate and vitamin B12, and that's another thing I'm going to talk to you guys about, is vitamin B12. Supplementing with vitamin B12 is it's kind of crucial, because it's hard to get it through foods, especially if you're going to be cutting meat out of your diet. So it's something that you most likely will have to be supplementing with. Like I said, unless you're like an expert at this and you're like, okay, like I know exactly how to get my vitamin B12 intake and I'm getting a sufficient amount of it and I'm getting enough, you will have to be supplementing, because not supplementing with vitamin B12 or having a deficiency in your body, it may not play out its effects in the beginning, but over a long period of time, you're gonna have system failure. It's an amazing vitamin because it helps with our nervous system, it helps boost energy, just things like that. It's quite crucial. So if you're lacking it in your system, you're putting yourself at risk. If there's two supplements that you should be taking, especially at first, it's iron and vitamin B12. And most iron formulas are gonna have iron and B12 contained within it, because it kind of goes hand in hand. So the next tip is to listen to your body. I think this one is super important because not every diet can last long term for some people. Oh, I like a hair there the whole time. Anyway, what was I saying? Not every diet can last a long time for some people, and at the same time, when you're transitioning into a diet where you have to be cutting out a lot of the food groups that you've probably been eating your whole entire life, baby steps. Like, just take it at your own pace, listen to your body, and just see what's going on and how your body reacts to certain things. So for me, when I was transitioning into becoming a vegetarian, I started by first reducing my intake of red meats. I never really liked chicken, so that was quite easy, but just reducing my intake of red meats, and then from there becoming a pescatarian, where I only eat seafood, and then from there just kind of incorporating fish every month or two into my diet, and then just going completely vegetarian from there. And then afterwards, I tried to do little things like be as vegan as possible, but it was still pretty hard. But then I would do things like reducing my intake of having eggs for breakfast to just like 3 times a week, and then once a week, and then nuns, so like nuns a week. Now it's quite easy for me to be plant-based. Like I said, actually I'm not sure if I already said it in this video, but I would consider myself mostly plant-based, and I'll have like eggs every once in a while. I'll have meat if my mom cooks it, so I won't have meat outside. So just, you know, really just things like that, listening to your body and seeing what works best for you, and just kind of going at it like that. The next tip is protein equals life. Like, it literally is life for us. All of our enzymes are made of proteins, and enzymes are what helps us absorb food. So if we're lacking in protein, that's another cause of what could be like why you're having or experiencing hair loss, is because if your body doesn't have a sufficient amount of protein, it's gonna go to your hair and lose that and shed that first, because it's a non-essential thing. So just really make sure that you're getting in enough protein, because it is so important. It is so important for so many functions in your body, and when you're not getting a sufficient amount, you're gonna come into some health risks. So one thing I can say is that plant-based sources of protein are not as bioavailable to us as meat sources are. So therefore you have to be taking in more of those plant sources to for it to be equidistant, is that the right word? Me trying to be all smart. For it to be a sufficient amount, just like the meat would. So you have to be taking in more plant-based sources. So something like amino acids are building blocks for proteins in our system, and proteins, like I said, go towards making so many different things in our bodies. So it's quite important, and different plant-based sources are going to have different of these essential amino acids that our body needs to go towards the protein. Something like quinoa is a whole protein, meaning that it contains all of the essential amino acids, and I'm sure there's more plant-based sources that are whole proteins as well, but for now, quinoa is the only one I can think of off the top of my head. That's why it's so important to be eating foods in varieties, which is my next tip, is to eat foods in varieties, because different plant-based sources are going to have different of the essential amino acids, so you really need to be eating foods in varieties to ensure that you're getting enough of all of the nutrients and just making your diet whole. Almond is another vegan superfood because it's a good source of protein and a source of calcium as well. What I like to do with my almonds is to soak them in water overnight, so as to allow, and with a lot of nuts actually, if you soak them in water, it really allows them to kind of absorb that and to break down better and absorb better in our bodies. Same thing for any kind of legumes or beans, things like that, lentils. You want to make sure that you're letting it kind of sit in water so that it allows it to kind of decreases bloating, and it allows it to absorb better in our bodies. And one thing my mom actually does is that she takes slices of cucumber and puts it in the water that the beans are kind of soaking in. So when she does that, it noticeably cuts down like any kind of bloating that is associated with eating beans and legumes and things like that. So that's another tip there. If you're looking for ways to kind of reduce the bloating when taking in things like beans and legumes, but you know what I'm saying, then just definitely pre-soak them in water and let them stay overnight, and at the same time throw some slices of cucumber in there to really help reduce the bloating, because nobody likes to have a little bean baby after eating and trying to be healthy and taking in their protein. So having a good protein supplement is never a bad idea. This is the one that I kind of, it's literally to its last little brim, like to take in, and it is the Sprouted Protein by Iron Vegan. It's organic, raw, sprouted, non-GMO, and it's made from brown rice, amaranth, quinoa, millet, and pumpkin seed. And it's like organic, gluten-free, kosher, just all these amazing things that you want. So that's there, and it's in a chocolate flavor. So yeah, having a good protein supplement just to really make sure that you're getting in enough is never a bad idea. And another thing I kind of want to add in here for hair loss is if you're experiencing hair loss due to going into a vegan or vegetarian diet, it could be due to vitamin D deficiency, which is actually quite common, especially if you're living in regions where there's not enough sun, or you know, the fact that we're living in winter times right now where there naturally just isn't enough sunlight. The only other sources, plant-based sources of vitamin D, come from mushrooms. Supplementing with a good form of vitamin D can also help with your hair loss. This one is by Whole Earth and Sea Vegan Bio-Enhanced Vitamin D3, and it's at 1000 IU. I would recommend taking anywhere from like 1000 to 3000 IU a day, and that could help with your hair loss as well. It's kind of like a learn as you go sort of thing, in the sense that the more you kind of keep up with it, it gets easier, and you just kind of find out and figure out what works for you and what doesn't. If you can't quit cold turkey, take it one step at a time. Don't rush everything, and just, you know, go at your own pace. Literally just go at your own pace. You're doing awesome, and it's hard. It's you know, hard to be a vegan or vegetarian, but honestly, for those of you trying and for those of you who already are vegan or vegetarian, kudos. Like honestly, just like, you're awesome. You really are. I'm pretty much touched up on everything I think is important. I feel like I'm missing something, but nope. Said it all. Alright guys, so that is it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you found this video to be helpful, please make sure to give this video a big thumbs up so that I know what you guys like and what content you want to see more of. I love making health videos, I really do. So if you guys like this stuff, then more will come your way. Also, be sure to be subscribed so I can see you back for more videos to come. And I think that's it, guys. Bye!